What up, nerds? My name is Leslie Smith, and welcome to the Nerdy Narrative. On this channel, I like to talk about all sorts of bookish related things, whether it be science fiction, fantasy, literary fiction, classics, nonfiction, poetry, short stories, horror, manga, comics, you name it, I'll read it. At least once. Well, at least twice. You really can't make a uniformed opinion trying something only once. Well, you can, but is one time really all you need to know if you're gonna like something? I don't think so. That's probably why there are so many subgenres of stuff. Friends, once again, we have made it to Friday. We are at the end of the work week. Fridays for me and the channel means a weekly check-in about what I read, what I'm reading, and what I am planning to read next. The first book that I finished in the month of April is a carryover from March. That is Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. This book really worked me over. I had the most difficult time reading it. In fact, this is the first book I've read in a long time where I literally had no rating in mind when I finished. Normally, that is something I can determine very early on in the book, usually. There have been times that it happened later in the book before I really nailed down what I was going to rate it. This one I finished and my mind just went blank. I didn't know how to feel. I didn't know what I thought. I just was speechless. It required a few days of thinking it over. I had a lot of discussions about things that happened in the book, some that I liked, some that I just have problems with, some that didn't make sense or were confusing, and then I reflected on those discussions, which did actually lead me to changing my mind on some of the things, because that's the cool thing about talking about books with other people. Sometimes someone else will have an insight to something a character does that I may have missed. And that's what happened. There were some really good discussions to be had. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but it was exhausting because it was non-stop action. Just in case that came across as a negative statement, I enjoyed it, but there was so much going on. It was happening so fast. I literally couldn't process something before something else major was happening. The series is fantastic, and I'm very much looking forward to continuing Morningstar in the next few days. The next book that I finished this week is the audiobook of Motherless Brooklyn by Jonathan Lethem. I've gotten into audiobooks lately, and I really like when I can listen and read in my physical book at the same time. Audiobooks are so helpful in that if I can't read the physical book, but I'm doing something that will allow me to listen to an audiobook, it means I get to keep going. So I'm so glad that I have finally been able to get my little ears and brain to adjust to consuming audiobooks. It's just really enhanced my reading enjoyment. I want to say the narrator for Motherless Brooklyn is Frank Muller, but he made this book just perfect. It takes place, obviously, in New York, in Brooklyn. And he had that Brooklyn accent. You know, we have some small-time mobsters that are involved in this story, and he just did their accents perfectly. I also like the inflection that he used when he was speaking for female characters. A lot of times when a male or female are trying to change their voice for the opposite sex, it just comes off a little weird, like they're trying too hard. I mean, I do it for my husband all the time. Like, anytime I speak for Chris, oh, it's totally like really stupid. He's like, I don't sound like that. I'm like, yes, you do. So something like that is what I mean. But he did an amazing job. And I think what made it so enjoyable in the audiobook format is our main character, Lionel Esrog, has Tourette's syndrome. And I loved the depth of his character and just being inside his mind as he is dealing with his syndrome. And he could tell when a particular tic was coming. Now, could he prevent it? No, there were things that he would try to do in order to bring it down and try and not let it get too out of hand for people who didn't know that he had this syndrome. and I just loved it. This book is wonderful. This book was so hilarious. I would be walking my dogs listening to the audiobook and I would just randomly start laughing. I know my neighbors think I'm Looney Tunes, but this book really legitimately had me laughing out loud. This is one I'm glad to own because I will definitely revisit it in the future. It's one of those that I will lump in the same category as The Martian by Andy Weir. It's just funny, it's comedy, it's enjoyable. It's one that I will most definitely be able to use to pull me out of a reading slump or pick it up for a reread after a book that really wrecks me emotionally, like Ruin by John Gwynne. This one is just one that will be enjoyed time and time again. I also completed volume 5 of the creator-owned comic book series Chew by John Layman and Rob Guillory. Did I get their names right? I did get their names right. This volume has just further cemented my love for the series. It just keeps building. It keeps getting funnier while also building a great story. I'm absolutely amazed at the way Layman and Guillory work together to create this series and just all of the really cool food-related superpowers they've created for this cast of characters. Our cast of characters have also gotten a little bit bigger. It's just so weird how it's so funny, but yet we're still also getting some great character and story development at the same time. I just never realized I could get so much enjoyment out of a picture book. And finally, my most recent finished read is Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut. How to describe this book? This story is about the bombing of Dresden in World War II. Vonnegut lays it out in a way that I feel he balances the horror of that war with humor. Being a visual reader, the way he described some of the scenes from the war really disturbed me. Just really painted a graphic picture for me of what he was describing in that scene when he was in the war. Then he would temper that with some humor. It's dark humor, I will give you that, but I found it a very enjoyable and fascinating read, and it really awakened a desire in me to do some research to learn more. My grandfather on my mother's side served in World War II. He was actually wounded in action during the Battle of Lutzen, I believe it's how it was pronounced. So that made me feel an emotional connection to the story that Vonnegut told. Not only did I enjoy the perspective that Vonnegut used in telling the story, I really liked his writing style, so I'm definitely going to continue reading in his works. It's very easy to consume, and it's just written in a way that you just lose yourself reading it, so definitely binge worthy. That's my experience with Slaughterhouse-Five, but I don't know about his other works. I don't know what any of them are about, if they're along the same vein or completely different, but I do plan on finding out. So, alright, now that I've told you about all the books that I finished, let's talk about the ones I'm still working on. The first one I'm still working on is a science fiction novel called The Dark That Dwells. It is the first book in the series by Matt Digman and Ryan Roddy, and I am loving this book. I am currently about 200 pages in, so I'm almost at the halfway mark, and I am hooked. At first, I wasn't sure what I was going to think about it. You know, I can definitely see why people say this is a Star Wars meets Firefly science fiction novel. I can definitely see that. These authors took those influences and made their own creation, and it is so cool. I'm just gonna give you a list of things that I want from this world. I want a Hermes. I want a hammer like Janus. I want armor. I don't know how it's pronounced, Vae? I don't know how that's pronounced exactly. I want everything. Their technology, the armor, the weapons, the way that those weapons are used is so freaking cool. I'm absolutely hooked. I had a feeling I was going to love this series. Before I even read it, just reading the marketing material, I went ahead and asked the authors, I'm like, how's book 2 coming? Because I have a feeling I'm going to want it in my hands when I finish this one. And I was right. That gut feeling was absolutely accurate. I am enjoying this book very, very much. The next book that I started and I'm still working on is The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick. This is a buddy read for the Nerdy Narrative Discord. So if you're reading it or you've read it and you would like to join in that conversation with us that are reading it for the first time, check the description box down below for a link to the Discord and come join us. This book, I am in love. I'm at a loss for the words to describe this book. It's a very romanticized fantasy. Is that will that do? I don't know. Let's see if I can do better. I don't think that accurately describes how I feel about this book. I love the characters. The characters are fantastic. The character development is so enjoyable. I like the interactions between several of the characters. I don't want to say they're so cute together, but I love their interactions. I am really struggling. It's just a very dashing sort of fairy tale medieval feel to it. It's just very classy how the nobility treats and speaks to Phantom of the Opera. This is very reminiscent to me of a Phantom of the Opera feel. They do wear masks for different things, which is so mysterious and fun. Investigating a murder. We've got political maneuverings and intrigue. In the midst of it, we've got this big con going on. I am absolutely loving this book. Everything about this book. Well, except for the names. The names are kind of difficult. I will not ever be able to audibly talk to you about some of these characters because of their names. I can say Ren. It's 3 letters, R-E-N. I can say that one pretty well. The rest of them, I got no clue. No clue. So if any of you have read this book on audiobook and you want to help a sister out, let me know. And the final book that I'm still currently working on is volume 6 of the comic series Chew, and I will definitely be continuing working my way through this series over the next few weeks. Of course, as per usual, when it comes to picture books, whether it be manga or comics, I am buddy reading it with Una from the Codex Cantina. If you missed it, I did do a spoiler-free review of our last comic series that we read, Nailbiter, and then he and I did a blog as we read through the series together that's on his channel. I'll have both of those linked down below if you want to check them out. And then, of course, Chew, we plan to make our next installment in that series. So, well, that takes care of what I read and what I'm still reading. Let's talk about what I plan to read next. I really would like to finish one of the 2 chunkers I'm still working on before starting a new book. With how much I am enjoying both of these, I don't think that's going to be a problem to have one or both knocked out over the next 2 or 3 days. In which case, I will then start the arc for the City of Blood, which is book 5 in the Nightmare Land Chronicles by Daniel Barnett. If you're new to the channel and you haven't heard me talk about the Nightmare Land Chronicles, my track record with these books is I binged them in one sitting. So it is quite possible I will have that one completed by the time I check in with you guys next week. And guys, that's going to do it for me today. That takes care of everything I did reading wise this last week. I hope you had a great week. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Take really good care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.